5-year-old that he can go and suck another 5-year-old's dick. You? This is what they're doing. I've done a radio show, and I'm going to give it to you guys like it is, because that's what's happening in your schools.
Welcome, we're live. Mike Crawford, Young Jerks. We start off with a little clip, a short clip. We've got some longer clips too. Hopefully I have the long clip of that. I don't know. I thought that was it, but I guess this wasn't. But we have some other clips too. But we're definitely going to be talking tonight about Rayla Campbell. She's running for Secretary of State. She is the Massachusetts Republican Party, I guess, nominee. I don't know what the hell they call it, but she got endorsed by her party. And she's pretty outrageous. We're going to be speaking to journalist, reporter, local Andrew, who has a Substack. He's also written for Dig Boston, and he had his website, Bay State Examiner, back in the day. He covers a lot of this. We're going to play some of the clips that he's compiled for us tonight. But before that, I wanted to get to some kind of show stuff, kind of some, and also some cannabis stuff. I guess the first thing I wanted to kind of just talk about is this show itself. We've been kind of doing shows every once in a while, sporadically. It's actually been a couple tough years for us. We were kind of on a high, moving up in the world, so to speak, pre-COVID, and then things kind of got a little crazy, both due to COVID, both due to my work schedule, as well as some other more personal issues related to the show. You might have noticed. I think people noticed some drama spilled over, obviously. But we came to a kind of a decision recently. And if you had asked me this over the last 6 months, I probably would have been pessimistic myself on whether this show would continue, whether we'd continue to have anniversaries. We can now say that the Young Jerks is the longest running local cannabis and politics show in Boston, Massachusetts, by far. There's not even a question. We are the longest running. We've been running now for over 8 years. We just had our 8-year anniversary at the end of April, and we just noted it. And we're going to 10 years in 2024. And if you had asked me a few months ago if we would get to 10 years, I wouldn't think so. But today I do think so. And it's because of our audience. It's not because of any sponsors or money, obviously. But it's because of the listeners and the guests and the content and the way that this show does have an effect on the real world. If it didn't, I wouldn't continue to do so. We just invested more into this show. We've invested actually quite a bit over the last couple of years into the show, even though we haven't done as much as we did in the past. But we just made a significant investment for this show in equipment, and we're really excited about where it's going. So I just wanted to, number one, thank the audience, the listeners, the supporters, the people that support the show, like, that help us out behind the scenes. Like, number one, my partner, Carmelita, Brian Murphy is another name that will come to mind. And a lot of the, people that help us even book the show or have been great guests on the show or past co-hosts, like Lauren Pespiza, friends of the show, like Warren Lynch, just really proud of this show and those folks too, because they've had a big part of it. And we're definitely going to continue. Having said that, I wanted to just kind of address a story that's been in the works since at least 2019. We did our first story in Dig Boston. You can just look up just Google moldy cannabis NETA, New England Treatment Access, moldy cannabis, New England Treatment Access. And you'll see the first story that we posted about New England Treatment Access in 2019. Yes, it was. And then again, we did a follow-up story. I want to make sure, actually, maybe it was 2018. Yeah, I think maybe it was 2018. We did that first story. I'd have to look it up right now, but I've got a lot going on. I'm not going to look right now. But I think the second story was 2020 on our Midnight Mass Substack. And it was about New England Treatment Access and the way that they treat their employees and the ongoing mold over 2 eras of different employees that we interviewed and talked to, some of them live on our show, some of the biggest numbers we've ever done on this podcast, and some great information was shared, but nothing happened. The Cannabis Control Commission didn't do anything about it. The union definitely did fight for the employees. They filed a number of objections and complaints against New England Treatment Access. There were also OSHA complaints against New England Treatment Access. We're covering all of this to support the employees, And we got a lot of pushback. We always get a lot of pushback. And the pushback primarily comes from the folks who often want to sponsor this program, who are the corporate executives at these places. And they're the PR representatives, and they're the agents, as I call them, of big cannabis. And one of the folks that we always tried to get a comment from, and we never got a comment, was Amanda Rosatano at New England Treatment Access. And Amanda Rosatano, if people don't know, she was an aide for a state legislator who was a big supporter of medical cannabis back in the day. And she seemed to have parlayed that into a corporate job at New England Treatment Access. And she was, a left-wing, sort of progressive, I guess you could call her Democrat, I would suspect, since she was an aide to that type of representative. And so she gave the big evil corporation a lot of cover, I believe, both locally within the cities and towns, but within the state house as well. And for that, I'm pretty sure she was rewarded with a big paycheck. And, she didn't want to address when someone came on the show, an employee, to speak about the union election and what the employees were thinking. And he was fired for being on the show. And they basically named us in their complaint against the union, which was bizarro, that the Young Jerks is getting brought in and we're getting accused of doing crazy stuff when it was New England Treatment Access. We were documenting what they were doing. Amanda Rosatano never responded. Some PR flackies eventually did. It's funny because we did get some responses from New England Treatment Access over the time. They denied a lot of the allegations, and then they later admitted some of the allegations on Boston Trees Reddit, where they had to respond, and they finally put out a response. So they basically had different answers at different times about the mold and some of the other allegations against them. Well, today, or was it yesterday, we got a response. I'll put this up right now if I can. Can I put this up? Yes. It was a little throwaway. I put up there, should I feel guilty for liking the former New England Treatment Access top dog's tweet? She had been on Twitter, and I noticed her saying that she, that joints were the best by far, 100%. And what I didn't expect is to get what I didn't expect was someone else to tag her. Like, I hadn't actually tagged her. This wasn't to try to get a response, but it ended up turning out that way. It's interesting how things work out. And when it went that way, of course, I was going to go all out on it because I've been waiting to talk to her for a long time. And Amanda Rosatano, the former executive at New England Treatment Access that was around for the union busting, that was around for the mold, that was around for all of the allegations against New England Treatment Access, that was there for the founding of the CDA, the Corporate Dispensary Association, as I call it, the Commonwealth Dispensary Association, that the whole community boycotted against. She was there for the founding of that as part of NETA. She writes back, why guilty? I'll speak to my personal track record in cannabis any day. I prefer to purchase from local independent sources, despite that I once worked for and led and built a very successful cannabis business that was acquired by a corporate MSO. She's talking about New England Treatment Access. That was Amanda Rosatano's response. She said she'll speak to her personal track record. So I got back to her about her personal track record, and I said, you'll speak to it now. Does NETA still have mold everywhere? ? Did you feel guilty when NETA fired Bambino for coming on our show? That was the employee that got fired. Did you feel proud of all the labor and OSHA complaints? ? And what I got in response was somebody that is associated or works with Amanda Rosatano now. Her name is Francesca Francesca writes back, LOLL. Laughing online, hating on Amanda Rosatano is so 2020. Also, ask her whatever you want directly. She's an open book. And if you did 5 minutes of research to see that she's been up to for 18 months since leaving Parallel, you'd know it's all about social equity in the industry. Well, I'm waiting for my response, Francesca. And we didn't get a response. And I don't think we're going to get a response about the mold. I don't think we're going to get a response about the labor and the ocean complaints. I don't think we're going to get a response about the union busting. I don't think we're going to get a response about helping found the CDA, the Commonwealth Dispensary Group that was against social equity. And I don't think 18 months pardons anything. I don't know about you. We have a poll question tonight. Number one, another thing that NETA did before we even get to the poll question, NETA withheld tips from employees. That's what employees have told us on the show. We've recently aired that. Solstar.io with NETA's Rosatano, that's where the other commenter works, apparently, says they're building a community to change who gets to be a part of the cannabis industry. Women-led, all welcome, they say. We have a poll question. Since we noticed that they're selling NFTs or they're planning to mint NFTs, do you believe that Solstar.io, with Amanda Rosatano at the lead, is building community or just another NFT scam? That's what I want to know from our listeners tonight. Post in the comments and we'll post some of your responses. All right, so I just want to get that out of the way. I also want to mention that, again, we've been running for almost 10 years, 8 years at this point, the Young Jerks. We've won some awards, but the best thing that we've won is our audience, and you guys rule. And I want to thank you so much for supporting the show and the podcast. And if it's your first time, or maybe it's your many time, maybe you watch all the time on the live feed, I would suggest following us everywhere. Twitter, @The Young Jerks. Facebook, @The Young Jerks. We also have a Facebook group. We have a Facebook page and a group. Make sure you follow them both. And especially on our iTunes, please follow us, subscribe to us, rate us, review us on there. That means a lot. We have actually quite a few reviews on there. I would like to get over 4 stars. We got whacked by some of the Turtle Boy riders, and actually it wasn't Turtle Boy. I don't want to blame it on Turtle Boy. It wasn't actually Turtle Boy. It was Kirk Minahan people. It's funny because some of those people actually like us too. So it's funny. Some of them liked us. I'm not going to even blame it on Kirk Minahan today. Basically, the ones that got us the most were the suits at New England Treatment Access and some of these other dispensaries. Those are the ones who gave us the bad reviews. If you look at them, you can definitely see it. It's pretty hilarious. Imagine that you're making big bucks and you're reviewing the Young Jerks on iTunes, giving them a negative review because you don't like what they say about the dispensary that you run. That's what we're dealing with in this community. And we keep doing it because of you, because of this community. And I just want to thank you for listening, supporting. If you want to do more than that, if you want to do more than subscribe, review, rate us on iTunes, and if you want to take it to another level, you can always do so. We have a couple ways you can also contribute financially. We are 100% right now listener supported. That's what keeps us going. It doesn't even cover all of the equipment. And frankly, I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. We also pay quite a bit liability insurance for the show, and it's not even the show, it's the writing. Actually, a lot of the content that we put out, we actually have purchased liability insurance to make sure that if we get sued by any of these big dispensaries, that we would actually have some protection legally. So there's a lot of costs to doing this. There's also obviously the StreamYard costs that we invest. So if you want to support the show and help us fund some of it, anchor.fm/The Young Jerks is one way you can do so. And you can also find us on Substack, substack.com. And that's substack.com. And you can look for us on there as well, midnightmass.substack.com. That's the way you can fund us both ways. So having said all that, poll question of the night for the beginning anyways is Solstar.io's with NETA Rosatano says they're building a community to change things. Do you think they're building a community to change things, or do you think they're enriching themselves with NFTs, with the idea of minting coins and things like that they're talking about on their website. What do you think, listeners? Now we're going to get to Andrew, who's waiting patiently, and we're going to talk. We're going to play some of the clips tonight related to a person who's running for office in Massachusetts, and it's pretty insane what's going on over there in the Mass GOP right now. Andrew, what's up? How you doing?
Good. Hey, how's it going?
You've been waiting patiently.
Yep. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Rayla Campbell tonight, huh?
Yes, we are. And we're going to talk about what you're doing. But before I do that, did you listen to my little screed earlier?
Yeah.
Do you think that the this person that was the head of New England Treatment Access, in your journalist experience, has turned the leaf? It is now selling NFTs. Do you think that sounds like it's headed in the right direction? Do you think she's found redemption, or do you think that it's kind of obvious what's going on?
Well, I don't know the whole backstory, but NFTs in general are a scam. I can tell you that.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Nobody should be selling NFTs, let alone a cannabis dispensary.
And especially in this market, and I don't want to say NFTs are a total complete scam, because I think it's actually kind of revolutionary and could have some purposes and uses. I just feel like it's so highly speculative right now, highly predatory, and it's just not the right place and right time. It's like it's tulips right now, and people have gotten really harmed. And if that's the way that you're trying to fund, and if you're pushing, you'll never find me right now pushing NFTs. I'll tell you that. You're not going to find a Young Jerks NFT right now. I'm not saying in 10 years you won't, because things might change. It might be more something that actually makes sense to do and is fair. But right now it just seems like a ripoff, and we're seeing the ripoffs, and it's so obvious, and it's a trend. It's a get rich, quick scheme. And that's everything I hate in the world. And thank you for piping in on that, Andrew, off the cuff. So you're a journalist and reporter locally, right?
Yes, I'm currently writing my own Substack. It's called the Mass Dump. I call it that because I mainly do public records requests. So it was just kind of a silly joke, I dump documents, so it's the Mass Dump. And you can check that out. It's andrewqmr.substack.com. And, I mostly do public records, but I occasionally will talk about some other stuff, like, for example, Rayla Campbell. And actually, the reason I started writing about her was because of the public records thing. So the Secretary of State's office is sort of responsible for oversight of the public records law. So obviously I've been following the Secretary of State's election. And, there's Bill Galvin, obviously, who's been in office for like 200 years, and he's running for re-election. He's being primaried by a woman named Tanisha Sullivan, who is the Boston NAACP president. But then the Republicans have their own candidate, Rayla Campbell, and she's pretty out there. She got some attention at the convention, the Mass GOP convention in Springfield, for what she said during her speech there. So the Republicans endorsed her candidacy. She's actually the only one running, so I don't know what the whole procedure is there, but she ended up being officially endorsed by them. And she gave this, acceptance speech for the endorsement. And she made this extremely grotesque, vulgar comment about, public schools teaching 5-year-old boys to perform oral sex on each other, which I think you played at the top of the episode. Do you want to play that again?
It's so crazy. Oh, that's terrible. Maybe somebody else will take care of it. Oh, that's not so nice. Well, I don't think it's nice when they're telling your 5-year-old that he can go and suck another 5-year-old's dick. Do you? This is what they're doing. I've done a radio show, and I'm going to give it to you guys like it is, because that's what's happening in your schools.
It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's like,
So I mean, it's totally nuts. And like, so the context for this is like, you know, what the Republicans throughout this country are doing, all the like crazy culture war nonsense that they've been talking about. There's like the whole critical race theory thing that they're mad about. But then the other thing they're talking about is this whole like groomer thing, which like grooming is basically it's when like an adult tries to befriend like a child so that they can kind of, you know, sort of prepare this child to be uh like sexually abused, essentially, like kind of like making the child let their guard down. And you know, a lot of these Republicans, what they're doing is it's like the same old thing that they used to say about, you know, gay people is, you know, they're like conflating being gay with being a pedophile, like trying to say that gay people are, you know, coming after your children, this sort of thing. And now it's primarily more aimed at like transgender people as opposed to gay people, although I think, you know, they're still targeting gay people too. But yeah, so like LGBT people, they're particularly talking about teachers and libraries, basically saying that, you know, teachers and librarians are grooming your children. And, you know, when they're talking about grooming, what they really mean is people are saying, you know, like it's okay to be gay, it's okay to be transgender. Uh, but they're sort of conflating the idea of like a person's sexuality with the idea of sex, which, you know, they're two distinct concepts. But they're saying that if you talk about, you know, sexuality in the sense of people being like gay or transgender, you're talking about sex. And therefore, if you talk about the stuff with children, you're grooming them. So what she's talking about in this clip is she's basically saying that teachers well, so actually, there's a reporter for the Boston Globe, Matt Stout, who was at the convention, and he talked to Rayla Campbell about like what is she talking about with this comment, and she pointed to these two bills before the state legislature, which are about updating the sex ed curriculum, and it's basically it's just they want to like update the sex ed curriculum so that it will be more like standardized. It would have to have information about like safe sex and that kind of thing. And it would also, this is probably why she's so upset about it, it would require the sex ed curricula to include information about sexual orientation and gender identity. And you know, obviously, if you don't like transgender people, then that's going to be a problem for you. And she has said about these bills in like social media posts, she said that they would, quote, lower the age of consent to 12. And she put 12 in all caps. And like I've read these bills, they don't even mention the age of consent. It's just a complete lie. Like it's totally made up. Like but she just says all this stuff that's not true. Like that's her thing. She just makes stuff up and tries to.
Let me ask you about that because I always wonder about these folks, what their motives are. Is it like ego? Is it money? Are they true believers? Do you think that Rayla Campbell believes stuff that she says that are just complete lies, like you just noted, that the age of consent thing, that's a complete lie?
Well,
Do you
like
think she believes it, or she's doing it for money and attention? What is it?
I have no idea, man. Like what motivates her? It's probably partly for attention, but like I don't even know if she's read this bill, like, but clearly like she's making stuff up. Like it doesn't say what she says that it says. It doesn't even mention the age of consent. So the idea that she's going out there and saying that it would lower the age of consent to 12 is just complete BS. Like it's made up. Like whether she made it up after reading the bill or just made it up, like, you know, without reading it, I don't know. But what motivates her? Like, I don't know. Like, because the thing is, like, you're not going to win an election in Massachusetts by saying this stuff. Maybe in a different state you would. So I have no idea. Like, she's certainly not going to win the election, but maybe it is going to get her some attention. I mean, she got in the Boston Globe by making those comments at the convention. It's probably the most attention that her her candidacy has gotten since she started running.
Well,
by
I'd
saying all
say
this
it's the most attention she's gotten since Monica Cannon Grant said her name.
stuff. Yeah.
And they all went after Monica so hard on that. That to me is like such a joke. Like, so what? Monica said something that wasn't nice. Like, come on. Like, I don't know. I think that was really overblown too. Like, they made her such a victim. It was like, that's, Monica is the person that's going to say that stuff. It's like, I don't know. I haven't spoken a lot on Monica Cannon Grant and what she's going through. There's a personal side to me because I definitely know her and I supported her show for a long time, but I also haven't wanted to deal with, carry the weight of a Monica Cannon Grant and what she's going through. It's got to be a difficult situation. Since I brought her name up tonight, I just figured I would, mention her, a little more because, I feel for Monica Cannon Grant. I'm not going to be someone who's going to go out and fight for her and, list every, part of the document that she's going through, the federal charges, basically. I'm not going to fight her federal charges for her. She's going to have to do that in court. But no matter what, I feel bad for Monica Cannon Grant. I as a person, whether she's innocent or found guilty, it's a tough situation. I feel for her as a person. And that's where I kind of want to leave it on Monica Cannon Grant. But I feel like what Monica Cannon Grant did back then was it was kind of ridiculous. Like they made such a big deal out of it the right way. And now Rayla does much worse. And like the Turtle Boys of this world were all over Monica Cannon Grant for what she said about Rayla. But Rayla could say way worse stuff. And I don't think Turtle Boy is saying it. I think Turtle Boy might be hiding from Rayla now. He was all about Rayla last time. I just wonder, like, there is a double standard, and I feel like on our side, we're at least trying to be a little fair. I feel like I'm even mentioning, both of these sides here, but I feel like, the right wingers are so full of shit on this stuff. Do you agree with me?
Like, there's somebody in your chat who is saying that I'm contradicting myself. He says,
we can post it up. Which one? What's his name? What's his name?
Dr. Wolf Star. How to teach.
Oh, how about this one? I mean, no one likes groomers. That's true. Is that one? Oh, there's another one.
Next comment.
Put him up.
How to teach kids how to have safe sex without specifically teaching them what sex is. Actually, obviously, you do teach kids what sex is in sex ed. I mean, you're telling me that. So are you like,
this is so 1950 stuff. Like, I thought we grew past this. Like, because when I was a kid, I want to talk about this because when I was a kid, my parents showed me the book when I was like, I don't know, 7, a little kid. They showed me this graphic book. And they showed me it, and this is how the sex thing works. And I didn't want to have sex with my parents after that. I didn't want to have sex with anyone. But when, it's funny because after having that kind of experience, I can remember being in, say, junior high, 7th grade, and the scandal of the school was someone, one of the students got pregnant, and I can remember some of my friends not understanding even how you got pregnant. And I knew because my parents had shown me the book. I knew how not to get a girl pregnant, so like, I just feel like, this is essential. This is essential stuff. Like, people should be taught about sex when they're young so they know and they don't make stupid decisions later. It's like drugs. If you don't tell people the right information, they're going to think, every drug's like pot, which is, pretty much harmless. And then they're going to end up something much worse.
Sex ed is harm reduction, just like the stuff with drugs. I mean, like, believe it or not, I don't know how people believe this. Your teenagers are going to think about sex, even if you don't tell them about it.
Yeah, let's ask Dr. Wolfstar. Well, Dr. Wolfstar, ask yourself this. If you don't teach your kids about sex, and the school doesn't teach your kids about sex, like a professional educator doesn't teach your kids about sex, who's going to teach your kids about sex? And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be some other knucklehead in the schoolyard. And that's like ridiculous. That's the last person you want teaching your kid about sex. Or it's going to be an actual groomer. That's the other one. It will actually be a groomer that will be molesting your child, and your child won't know that he's being
Well,
molested because
yeah,
you
that's
didn't talk to him about sex. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. This is
that is
actually
the reason.
grooming reduction. Go ahead.
Yeah, you want kids to understand what sex is and how consent works, so they're not good. That's part like how you prevent people from getting groomed is you help kids understand like what is and is not appropriate. And you need to have sex ed to do that. And this idea that we're just going to not tell, young people about sex in any way, I mean, there's age appropriate ways of doing it. I had this idea that like you either don't have sex ed or you're telling 5-year-olds to go perform oral sex on each other. Like,
let's talk about that too. Who's grooming who? You're a moron, Dr. Wolfstar. You got to think this woman is going around in public giving speeches talking about anal sex and all this crap that I'm afraid to even say on the show tonight. And this show's for adults. Like, she's doing this in public with little kids around. Who's grooming who? Sounds like she's grooming them into some crazy stuff. Like she's the one who's actually, and it sounds like it's grooming with like this real hate, this real anger, which isn't positive at all.
Play the
very strange. What's that?
Play the third clip I sent you of her.
All right, we'll in a second. We're going to go to the comments right now. And I also want to make sure that people know you can leave comments. We post them. Question: is this a Michael Picard video? We've already featured some of Michael Picard's best material, basically a screen capture. The screen capture for this episode we've been using of Rayla with the upside down sign is a Michael Picard video. We are going to have Michael Picard on the show. He's actually in the guest room, so he's here. We're going to bring him up in a few minutes, so stick around. Yes, Michael Picard is part of our community, and we're really excited to have him back on the show tonight. And we will be having him. We're going to post some other comments too. Calvin Feliciano writes, "Miss you, bro. I miss you too, man." He also says, "Oh boy, this woman scares the shit out of me." Rita wrote, "We have crazy people in Plymouth saying that the middle school is putting out litter boxes for furries." Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because we do have some furry clips tonight.
Yeah, we have a clip of Rayla talking about furries.
Yeah. And Boston Rob wrote, "She's an AM shock jock, anything to get some attention." Yeah, it's very interesting how she got up and gave her convention, and then she had to mention that she has a radio show. Like, it's like, oh my God, you're so lame. Maybe that's. Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. I think Rob just nailed probably the closest to my answer to my question on why she does this. She's a shock jock. Of course she does it. She wants ratings. She wants, I know about this because I look at numbers. I want to get good numbers. Obviously, I want to get a good listeners. I want to have a community. And I know the easiest way to boost that numbers and community is to go, do the right wing hate. I would never do that. I would never sell myself out. But that gets numbers. There's no doubt about it. If you just post the right wing hate, the conspiracy theories, the lies, that's what gets the attention on YouTube and Facebook and even on radio shows, definitely. So I think Boston Rob hit it out of the park with this comment. Got a few more. Rita writes, "They know that people will believe them because their followers are idiots. And not only that, they want to believe it. It's they want to believe it. That's a big part of this. It's like they just want to believe it." Calvin writes, "Free Mo." Talking about Monica. Rita Farello writes, "He hasn't said anything. He barely touches how gross Catherine is." I'm not sure who are we talking about on that one. He hasn't said anything. Do you know what she's talking about there, Andrew? That
nope.
comment? Okay. It was probably someone we were talking about. Your parents did? Okay, something is wrong with your parents. That was Dr. Wolfstar. Yeah, and Dr. Wolfstar, guess what? I didn't get any girls pregnant underage. I think that was actually a good decision. I turned out pretty damn good. I didn't, I've never had anything, no issues. So, yeah, I think that's actually what you do when you're a parent. You talk to your kid about sex so they know what's going on. You give them an education. This is health. That's what it comes down to. These are health books. I don't understand why we're afraid of science. Yeah, my parents did a lot of science with me. Dr. Wolfstar says, "No, everyone knows in high school that's a complete lie. but no 7-year-olds don't have hormones. They don't understand it, and it would only harm them. They don't have hormones, no, but you know what they do get when they're 7 years old? They get molested. And if they don't even know what sex is at 7, I think that's could be an issue, you know? So I don't know. I think that they're afraid and they're actually setting their kids up for worse things, you know? Do you agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you teach your kids about consent and, like there's age appropriate ways of discussing things. Like you don't have to like Rayla's trying to say that like just talking about, like sex with kids is like you're telling 5-year-olds to go perform oral sex on each other. That's not, there it's you can talk about it in age appropriate ways. You don't like she's just trying to basically, if you listen to her radio show, which unfortunately I've done for hours for writing this piece, they're basically going over all this like innocuous information from sex ed curriculums, and then they're like saying like they don't seem to understand, first of all, that like some of it is for high school students. It's not all for like your kindergartner. And second of all, like they're just taking it out of context, like saying that if you teach them safe sex, you're telling them that they should go out and have sex with people, which is like not true. Like I had sex ed, comprehensive sex ed, which they told us about like birth control and that sort of thing. But they weren't like telling us go have sex now. They were actually telling us that, it's better to be abstinent and you can, avoid unwanted pregnancies and avoid STDs if you're abstinent. But like if you do have sex, you need to be aware of like safe sex practices, and that's how they should do it. It's harm reduction.
It's so ridiculous that they think sex ed leads to sex. It's like kids have sex because they're horny and they're irresponsible.
Yeah, exactly.
And what sex ed is saying, hey, if you're going to start doing sex, there's a responsibility here. And these are the responsibilities, and these are the risks. And these are the reasons why you maybe should say no. And if you do it, you should actually take some precautions. And, sex ed is kind of like driver's ed. It's like we just don't let our kids just, drive the car. You want to actually prepare them a little bit, at least. And I just don't, it give them the basic facts of the road. That's what sex ed is. It's basically saying this is it. This is what's going on. This is the science of it. This is what can happen. And this is how you get pregnant, because back before sex ed, I don't know if people remember this. People didn't, kids didn't know how people got pregnant. Women got pregnant and they didn't know how they got pregnant. Like, can you imagine that? Like they didn't even know. They didn't even know how you got pregnant, and they would end up pregnant. Like, because it wasn't talked about. It wasn't shared, So I don't know. I think these guys are really crazy. I don't even think we should even post any more of their comments. Honestly, he's now accusing my parents of grooming me, which is interesting. I guess they weren't really good at it.
That's all they know how to do is accuse people of being pedophiles.
It sounds like your parents are grooming you in private. My parents didn't groom me. That is so bizarro. My parents were like hard asses, actually. My mother and stepfather. Yeah. I mean, my mother. Jesus. She's like, even though like she votes the Democrats, you didn't come home with an earring. You know what I mean? Like in my household, if you had a tattoo, you're out there. Like just, So you're saying my mother was grooming me? That's like bizarro. My mother was like very strict. Let's put it that way. I was grounded more than I was ever, allowed to run free. That's my life. Oh, Rita was talking about Turtle Boy earlier. Yeah, you were right. Thank you, Rita, for bringing that back. It was about Turtle Boy. Turtle Boy doesn't air both sides, of course. And I'm not saying we're like, always airing both sides. That's not our purpose here, obviously. But I think, I think the left is just more fair, especially when someone does something wrong on their side. They're gonna, own up to it, admit it. I know that they're going to say, oh, the Boston Globe and everyone hasn't come out on Monica and bashed her enough. Well, I don't think everyone knows about Monica yet. I think the jury's out. I want to see a conviction. There have been many instances where Black activists have been targeted. We know this over and over again. I'm not saying in this case, Monica, a lot of the evidence doesn't look good against Monica. I will be frank on that. But, I also think Monica's not an evil person. you know, even if she is guilty, you know. And I'm not saying she is or she isn't. Again, going back to Monica, I haven't wanted to talk about Monica. I'm talking a lot about her tonight. Andrew, I don't know what's going on. What's up with me? I guess I haven't done a show in so long. There's so much I want to get out.
Well, to get back to Rayla, play the
get back to Rayla. I guess, you know, Rayla Monica thing. It just gets me going, you know. Go ahead.
Play the third clip I sent you. This is also her talking about sex ed.
We're posting more comments too. I gotta find these clips. It's gonna take a little bit. So you want the sex ed clip?
This is a clip I sent you from her radio show, where she's talking about supposedly what she thinks, you know, they're teaching kids in sex ed.
Is this the yeah? Some of them I have numbers, some I don't. This one's, is it the Rayla anal sex one?
Yes, that's
or is it the Rayla furries one, or is it Rayla non-binary?
About anal sex first.
Anal sex. All right, this is the Rayla anal sex one. This is, yeah. So, I mean, why isn't this considered grooming when she talks like this? Why isn't this
completely destroying their innocence? As I've said it before, they're raping your child from the brain. That's what they're doing, and then they want them to go out and masturbate and play with other kids in sexual ways. Again, grooming, sex trafficking. There's got to be something wrong with someone who thinks that reading and having kids take this type of curriculum is normal and it should be taught. We're talking about telling 10 and 12-year-olds and younger that they should try anal sex using a dental dam. What?
Right. Yeah, what indeed? What is she talking about? Like, that is not, I had comprehensive sex ed, and when I was 10, they were not saying go, you know, use a dental dam to have anal sex, which, she's just like,
you know, it's so funny because it's like, imagine the conspiracy for them to get away with teaching that stuff in the schools. Like the mass, it's so funny. They want to blame the Democrats and say they're evil and they're doing all this child molesting and grooming and bullshit. It's like, what a conspiracy. How can the party that's in power in Massachusetts that can't fix the T, you know, they're so corporate, they can't pass anything. They've got a grand conspiracy. Like, these guys are institutionalists. They don't even get stuff done that they want to get done. Like, fix the T. Like, they're Democrats. They should want to fix the T. They can't even get that done. They're going to get some child sex trafficking thing done and no one knows about it. Like, this is bizarro. This is just, it's so far from reality. And that's what we're dealing with, is people actually believe this, like this guy, Dr. Wolfstar. Yeah, well, one of the things about this bill that she's, you know, mad about is that it would require the schools to they would have to inform the parents if they're teaching sex ed. If they are teaching sex ed, they also have to give the parents the option to opt their children out, and they would also have to give the parents the opportunity to review all of the materials used in the class. So if, you know, supposedly you're worried about what they're teaching your kid in sex ed, you'd think that this bill, you know, you'd be like, sign me up. Like, I want to be able to tell, you know, what they're teaching my kid, you know, so that I know they're not teaching them inappropriate stuff. And if they are, I could opt them out. But, you know, apparently, you know, she doesn't support that for some reason, you know, maybe because of the stuff about teaching, you know, gender identity. And, but, you know, it's so ridiculous that, like, she can't think of a real reason to oppose this bill, so she's making up stuff about it. It's going to lower the age of consent to 12. Like, it's just total BS. And, you know, that's all she does. Is like, almost everything this woman says is a lie. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable. It's hard to keep track of all the lies. That's the one thing about these right-wing extremists. We're getting more comments. I'm trying to post them all, but it's tough to keep up, especially when Dr. Wolfstar, now he's going after my stepfather, which is just, this is hilarious. The guy doesn't know anything about me. And yeah, well, that's all these people do, is they'll accuse you of being a pedophile if you disagree with them. It's, you know, the only thing they know how to do. So we're going to post some more comments. Keep posting them. We love your comments. Definitely keep posting them. Captain Unhinged writes, bring in Picard. Picard is waiting and he's laughing because I see him laughing when I post the comments. His people are here. His people are waiting. Michael Picard is going to be here very soon. Believe me. I'm waiting for this too, people. Believe me. But we got Andrew. He's a wealth of knowledge. We got a lot of clips.
Play
We're
the
hopefully we're not going to lose Michael. Michael, give me the thumbs up in the green room. Are you going to stick with us? He's giving us the thumbs up. Michael Picard isn't going anywhere. He's just like us. We can't wait to talk to him. So Picard is coming up. Believe me. So Andrew, what you have other clips? Do we want to play some more clips too?
Do the furries clip next.
Yeah, the furries.
This is also
some of the stuff that she just says. It's just unbelievable, man.
She's brought up furries more than once on her radio show too.
What's up with what's up? Why do they have an issue with furries? Like,
do I need to explain what furries are?
Yeah, maybe you should to people who don't know. I don't know. It's just I mean, maybe
we're going to merely allowing parents to make the decision on what is in the curriculum. Certain things you talk about with your child and your household because it doesn't affect the majority of everybody else.
That's right.
And bringing it in and shoving it down and trying to make it a fad, like, they're furries, peoples. The furries, dress up as animals and make animal sounds, and that's allowed in school. Did you ever get to dress up as an animal every day in pajamas with animals and go to school? Or was that against the dress code?
The furries. She's afraid of the furries. This is it's against the dress code. This is what they are. Like these are the same people that were protesting heavy metal in the 1980s. I don't know. Good to, Andrew. What do you say on this? You want to tell us what the furries are? I mean, go ahead.
The furries, it's just this internet subculture. These people who are into drawings of these animal character, half animal, half person, and I guess. For some of them like to dress up, they go to conventions or whatever, kind of with comic books. And I guess for some percentage of them, it's a sex thing. They draw, sexual pictures, or they're attracted to the cartoon characters or whatever. And I assume that's what she's getting at because all she ever talks about is, sex. So
she must hate comic books. She must hate all the DC, comic book movies and all that stuff, right?
But she's talking about how schools are encouraging kids to be furries, which where is she getting that from? And she says something about pajamas, and I'm wondering if she thinks that those, animal pajamas are the same thing as being a furry. That's not the same thing, first of all. And second of all, who cares if kids are wearing pajamas to school? In that radio show they went on, they're talking about how kids should have to wear uniforms again because they don't like all the clothing kids are wearing these days. And it's just don't you have something better to spend your time on? This woman is running for Secretary of State, third position in state government. She's just behind the lieutenant governor for the highest office in our state.
It's unbelievable.
She's talking about furries, and she's talking about kids performing oral sex on each other. And just to be clear, none of this even has anything to do with the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State does not determine what the dress code is at your local school. They don't have anything to do with the sex ed curriculum. They don't have anything to do with the local libraries, which is something we might get into later. It's just none of this is even relevant to the job she's running for. But if you listen to her radio show, this is one of the top issues she's talking about is the sex ed stuff and all this groomer panic nonsense, all this weird sex crap that she's obsessed with. It's 90% of what she talks about, and it really is just totally, even if it wasn't all made up, it's just irrelevant to the job that she's running for. She should, if she cared about this job, she would be talking about elections, she'd be talking about public records. And first of all, for what she said about elections, she doesn't want to improve elections. She wants voter ID law. She believes in all this.
Make it harder to vote. She wants to make it harder to vote. Andrew, I mean, it's really we were laughing at the furry stuff. It is kind of funny, but at the same time, this is very hateful, and it is dangerous to librarians. I mean, we're seeing at this point. Let's be really frank here. One of the reasons I gave that screed at the beginning of our show is about how proud I am of our community and the young jerks and our listeners is twofold. It's about cannabis, but it's also about the local right-wing hate, because we were noting it, and we've all, the whole local community that has been noting the fascist, I'd say the anti-fascist researchers, especially the Lauren Paspizas, the Rod Webbers, the Michael Picards, the folks that are out there, and even folks like myself that are interviewing people and following it, like yourself, Andrew, researching it, writing about it, reporting on it. We all noticed the uptick in violence. We predicted January 6th. We knew this was going to happen. People told us there's no Nazis in Boston. Well, we were right. We told you there were Nazis in Boston. Now you all know there are Nazis in Boston, and they show up at the St. Patrick's Day parade. We told you that there was going to be violence on January 6th. There was violence on January 6th. We told you that there was a white nationalist problem. There is a white nationalist problem. A lot of folks that listen to the show, like Rita, she's documenting it. A lot of folks are documenting what's happening, and I'm really proud of that. But at the same time, it continues. It's getting larger. It's getting outrageous. And I just worry that, because we're already seeing it. We're seeing that these right-wing Proud Boys, the one percenters, the sick, Nazi, neo-Nazis, they're showing up at libraries. They're threatening LGBTQ events. They're threatening trans folks. They're threatening school boards. They're threatening school teachers. They're threatening election workers. Do you think that this is going to get violent at local schools for local teachers? What do you think the long-term effects is to the teaching profession?
Well, I guess just first of all, that's kind of why I wrote about Rayla Campbell. Like, she's not going to win the election. She has zero chance. I saw someone in the chat saying she's going to win easily. That's not going to happen. Not in Massachusetts. She's not going to win the election.
No, she's not going to win. I will bet you anything, Obama Pox. Let's bet $1 million on that, buddy.
But even though she's not going to win the election, all this sort of nonsense about libraries and schools, it can still affect local communities. Like, there's local elections that impact this sort of thing, like school board or library trustees, that could be influenced by all this like right-wing nonsense and right-wing hate. And there's just people, people can make life difficult for teachers and librarians, even if they're not involved in, like the local government. If people showing up to school boards and saying, nonsense, or people going to libraries and harassing the librarians. And that's actually, Rayla has been showing up at libraries and like recording these videos of herself talking about library books that are LGBT Q-themed books, and basically saying that they're child pornography and that, they should be banned, and that, the librarians should go to jail. And again, this doesn't even have anything to do with the Secretary of State's office, but she's going to these libraries. She was recording videos of the Pride displays because, it's Pride Month. And there's one particular book that she is absolutely obsessed with, which I have right here. It's called Genderqueer, a Memoir. And I have read this book. Rayla Campbell, despite talking about it almost every single day, has not read it. She said on her radio show that she only flipped through it and looked at like a few pages, basically. And this book is a memoir about, it's a comic book actually, but it's a comic book memoir about an artist from California, Maya Kobabe. And Maya is non-binary and wrote this book about essentially discovering her sexuality. And Maya uses these gender-neutral pronouns, e, m, and er, which I'm going to try to remember and use throughout talking about this. But Maya wrote this book, and it's currently the most challenged book in the country because basically, it has like a few scenes in it that talk about sex, and there's a couple images in it that are, a bit sexual, but this book it's not worse than anything you read in your high school English class. Like, I read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or Siddhartha in my high school English classes. And those books have all kinds of, sex and talk about sex in them. This book is, no more sexual than those are. But people are up in arms about it because it's about a non-binary person. And actually, if you'd like to hear what Rayla Campbell thinks about non-binary people, you could play clip number 5.
Oh, I thought you were going to play the Maya ones now.
Well,
You
actually,
know what? No, I got it. I could play it. You know
sure.
what? I got it. I just realized I got it up. The non-binary.
And
Let's play it.
these preschool teachers that are non-binary, whatever they want to call themselves, okay, they're freaks. It's either a woman or a dude. You're one or the other. You're not both, and you're a weirdo for telling kids that this is like you tell kids, little 3 and 4-year-olds, about your sexual life. Something wrong with you.
Right.
Should not be anywhere near kids.
I added the fly sounds. I don't know, a little studio judge, because it's just disgusting. It's like, it really feels gross playing that. Like,
yeah, she's calling non-binary people freaks and weirdos. She says they don't belong around children. You know, that's a repulsive thing to say. And it shows you that, you know, when she's talking about a book about a non-binary person and she says, oh, it's child porn, like, no, the reason you don't like it is not because of the content. It's because you don't like non-binary people. You think that there's something wrong with them. And, you know, sorry, but, you know, everybody has a right to be themselves, and libraries can stock books that you don't like. Libraries aren't just for straight people, you know, they're for everyone. And, you know, credit to our librarians who are stocking this book and stocking other LGBTQ themed books and are not putting up with, you know, hate. I did reach out for the story I worked on to the Massachusetts Library Association and Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, and they both sent me statements to the effect that, you know, libraries are for everybody, and you know, if you don't like the books and don't want your kids reading the books, you know, it's up to you to be a parent to your child. You don't get to tell the library that they're not allowed to have books that you don't like because you don't want your child seeing them. You know, you be a parent to your kids and let everybody else be a parent to their kids. And, you know, don't tell the libraries what to do, which, you know, is great. I'm glad that, you know, we have librarians who are going to stand up for equality and are going to stand against censorship. And, you know, this book that Rayla is claiming is child porn it's not porn at all. I mean, I read comic books as a teenager with like way more sex in it. Like, if you ever read Sin City by Frank Miller, like, I'm pretty sure like the first scene of that book has like, you know, the dude, he's like in the heart-shaped bed with like the prostitute, you know, naked. And like, I don't know, there's so many, like, Rayla seems to think that it's like a comic book, so it must be appealing to children. But like, if you read comic books, and I doubt Rayla reads many books at all, whether they're comic books or not, you know, comic books are not primarily for children. They're for teenagers and adults. Like, when I walk into a comic book store, most of the people I see in there are older than I am. They're like 45-year-old dudes with kids.
I mean, that's the market that grew up on them, and they like, yeah. I mean, it's true. It's like people who collect records right now, you know. So we have clips from Maya, right? Talking about this.
Yeah, why don't we play the clips from Maya?
Which one, 7 or 8 first?
Either way, it doesn't matter.
All right, we'll play 7 first. We'll go in order. Here's a clip from the author of a comic book. Is that what it was? A comic book?
It's called Genderqueer.
Okay.
I think that my book is uniquely vulnerable because it is a comic, and because people can very quickly flip open to 1 or 2 images that they don't agree with or make them uncomfortable, and share those out of context on social media and not read the whole book or even more than 1 to 2 pages of the book and quickly judge it.
And that's exactly what Rayla has been doing. She's talking about a few pages out of context. She has not actually read the book herself. In her own words, she said she just flipped through it. So, you know, she doesn't even know what this book is about. And she is saying that it's child porn, which is just totally ludicrous.
Let's hear what Maya says about it in the next clip, too. I'm going to play the next one.
Receiving so many responses. I mean, ever since the book came out, I've been getting almost 1 email a week, and then at various times there'll be sort of an uptick of multiple emails per week from, usually young readers, but also readers who are in their 30s and sometimes in their 50s or 60s saying, this book meant so much to me. This book helped me understand who I am, or this book helped me have a conversation with my partner or my family or my friends and explain to them, what gender means to me and what I mean when I ask for non-binary pronouns and why that's so important. I've had people tell me the book made them feel seen and loved and less alone, and just like really, really powerful things, the kind of things that are just feed you as an author and make you realize, like, this is why it's important to write books. Like, this is why doing this work is important and valuable.
That's like it's what we all want, like, to connect. And
Yeah.
to see that a work connects, and then these people totally misrepresent what it is. It's just disgusting. It takes like a great thing and turns it into something disgusting. It's awful.
Yeah, and what Maya said there is precisely why it's so important that libraries do have books like this, because, people need to be seen, they need to be represented, and not everything is about, straight white dudes, and people deserve to have media that reflects who they are and that speaks to their own experiences and that can help them, with the challenges in their life. And for someone like Rayla, who this book was not written for, to be saying that libraries shouldn't be stocking it, like, get a life, like, leave other people alone. If you're not non-binary or transgender, whatever, like, you don't have to read the book, and let other people read it and draw their own conclusions from it.
All right, we have a lot of other comments. We also have Michael Picard on standby. There's also some other clips to play from Rayla. I want to get to it all. Let's bring in Michael Picard right now. If you don't mind hanging out too during this, Andrew.
No.
We're gonna have more too. So with you, I want to thank Andrew so much for providing all of this material and background and info tonight. Check out his Substack. We got it up on the screen. Everyone can find it. If you're listening on the podcast later, we'll also have a link to it there in the description. So check that out. Let's bring up Michael Picard too tonight. Let's see what's up, dude.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be on the show again.
I love having someone standing by for like 40 minutes, or like way beyond what we promised him. He's a star himself, a good guy, and all his fans
are on your show.
Yeah, I know you do. And all his fans are hitting us up, like, get him on. And I'm like, he's coming. You gotta wait for it. You gotta wait for it, right? Make him wait.
Patience is a virtue.
That's what it is. They gotta wait. Yeah. Well, look at all the comments coming in too. Like, Michael Picard for president. How you doing, Michael? Because I know you've been through a lot. You lost your dad recently.
Yeah, I've been, dealing with that and trying to make more content too. But I've been well. I'm also, currently why I'm not pumping out more content is because I'm taking 2 summer courses right now. And for those of you who've never taken summer courses, you have 3 to 4 months of curriculum condensed into 6 weeks. So, there's a lot of deadlines, a lot of work. So
we all got to do work. That's what I've been talking about. I've been working a lot, but after a while, it's like you feel good about yourself because you're like, look at all that work I got done. Boston Rob writes, "Kid is a legend." He's talking about Michael Picard. You're legendary now. Like, the professional douche on YouTube and on Facebook is like a legend now. You're legendary. How does that feel, Michael?
I guess I made it, huh?
Kind of.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be really happy if I were you. You have a huge, you got a huge following. I wish I had, I'm going to say it. I wish I had, especially how many years I've been doing this, but you have, like, your following is thick, big.
And it still feels surreal sometimes because, I just made these videos because I enjoy doing them. I troll the right and the left. And, I just enjoy doing it. I never in my wildest dreams expected to have 50,000 subscribers.
All hail the douche, Leo the Lion writes.
And I would like to touch on something you said earlier. One of the biggest surprises, you said earlier that you know, we told you there were Nazis in Boston, and there were, you know, and there are. You know, I guess I was a little bit naive before I started, you know, all of this, because, you know, I thought these people were in, you know, Podunk, USA, you know, in the South, in some secluded area. But, you know, Massachusetts is considered very liberal and progressive, and there's still, you know, people there that, you know, spread bigotry and hate, and, you know, just surprised me. So, you know, but these people are fun to troll.
You've been trolling. I mean, that's how you are known, through those videos where you do your awesome trolls. You've had a lot of experiences as well with Rayla Campbell. Are you surprised by any of the statements that she's been making now that she's running, you know, for Secretary of State and kind of got the endorsement of the Mass GOP?
Absolutely not surprised. You know, she's, you know, I first met her, my first introduction to her, you know, she says we only worship one God in America. You know, so I knew she was full of you know, she claims to you know, support the Constitution up and down, but, you know, she only supports what she
One God.
believes in.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty not constitutional right there. I mean,
So if she has it in her to say that, then, you know, I know she has it in her to say a lot worse as well.
We're the Young Jerks. My name is Mike Crawford. I'm also with Andrew. Andrew, how do I say your last name? I don't want to.
Quamer.
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 No. Say it again.
Quamer.
Quamer. Quamer?
Yeah, you got it.
Got it. I've known you for years, and I don't know how to say your last name. I always, because I call you Andrew Q. I just think it's awesome having Andrew Q. I don't know. I think that's fine. And I noticed you use it on your Facebook too. It's Andrew QU actually, but
Yeah,
Andrew Q. I mean, who else is, you know? But he's got a website too. Make sure you check that out, thesubstack.com. Michael, do you have any other questions you want to ask, you know, specifically our guest Andrew, about some of the things he wrote about, or, you know, anything politically? I don't know, any kind of extra comments on that stuff that we were talking about earlier?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, I've been reading your work about Rayla, and it doesn't surprise me in the least, you know, that she's saying these things. When she first, you know, spoke at the Republican convention in Massachusetts, people were like flooding my messages with, you know, telling me what she said at the Republican convention, and I kind of wish I was there to upstage her. But I appreciate your work.
thanks.
And specifically, you know, Michael, you've had a lot of interactions with her in the past. You know, we had you on the show. We did the podcast live show, Rayla and Diana Ploss Get Violent. And we even showed some of the clips with you where, you know, she tore up your sign, she assaulted you. Has anything happened since then with, like, I know there's been a lot of charges back and forth. Where's it stand now? All that stuff.
So for anyone who doesn't know, because of my staunch advocacy for her, yeah, right. But anyways, because of my staunch advocacy for her, she filed a what's called a harassment order against me. This was back in the summer of 2020. And she also tried to recover $100,000 in damages from me because she said I ruined her campaign because I posted her videos, you know, videos of her, you know, being Rayla on the internet. And, you know, she didn't like that very much. You know, and I've also, what I would do is I would do like the most offensive things, like, you know, drag the flag on the ground and tell everyone to vote for Rayla. And that by extension got Rayla a lot of hate because, like, people were commenting on her posts. I'll never support someone who lets their followers drag the flag on the ground.
Oh my God. So where does that stand now? Is there anything that happened there?
No, the judge just denied it.
Of course,
It was funny
joke.
because it was funny because when I was on the phone with the judge, I made sure she made her ruling first, but then I was like, I sent the videos in as evidence of what she did.
What happened?
And,
Yeah.
and then I asked the judge at the very end after she ruled, "Hey, judge, do you like my videos?" And she's like, "Goodbye, Mr. Picard."
She's probably laughing her ass off at home. That's so funny. The judge probably loves you behind the scenes. So it's so funny because like she sues you. But let's state it like this: she assaulted you. I saw her assault you. She took your property. Yeah. She stole your property. She assaulted you several times, and then she turns around and sues you for using your freedom of speech. By the way, so she's anti-freedom of speech. I also want to mention. Andrew, you've been contacting Rayla about the story that you wrote. You got a lot of support, a lot of readers locally. I see even like Dan Kennedy is like retweeting it. People in the media noticed that story. You contacted her several times. We've contacted her even tonight to come on the show. She won't come on the show. She won't reply to any of your responses. But at the same time, she's on her Twitter saying that the Boston media is afraid of her. We're not afraid of her. We invited her on the show tonight. We didn't even tell her that Michael Picard was going to be on. I didn't dare to tell her that, but just, myself and Andrew, she has no issues with us. She wouldn't come on. She wouldn't answer your request for response either. Right, Andrew?
No, she has not. I've emailed her. I've left her voicemails. I've done, I even tried to call into her radio show one day, but they weren't taking calls that day. And she's also blocked me on Facebook and Twitter because I was pointing out things that she was saying were not true. So, she says that, nobody's challenging her and, people are afraid of her. But like, as soon as you tell her that she's wrong about something, blocked and, she won't talk to you anymore. She actually did email me a couple times in January because I was asking her about her campaign and public records. And I didn't say like, you're full of BS or anything like that. I just asked her some questions and she did send me a couple emails. But like, as soon as it became clear to her that I thought she's like lying about things, like just, totally will ignore me. And like, she posts all the time about how no one is challenging her and, nobody can disprove anything she says. And she posted this picture of like, I don't think it was a lion. It might've been a tiger or something, and was like, this is me ready to pounce on people who try to disprove me, and like, ready to pounce on the block button.
Yep.
Like, she's got no patience for dealing with people who actually are going to challenge her on anything. It's totally.
She won't do anything outside of her echo chamber.
Exactly.
And we're outside of that echo chamber big time. It's funny because now they're talking about Michael Picard and some of his supporters. Rita first mentioned this earlier. She said that she notices that some of Michael Picard's supporters are also seem to be weirdly supporters of Rayla and like Diana Ploss crowd. We've also noted that tonight, a couple people. And
I get people from all, walks of life following.
Do you think that's funny? Like, I want to read Boston Rob's first, and I want to ask you to comment on it a little more, because Boston Rob also writes, I always wondered if certain folks listened and liked George Carlin, even though Carlin was addressing them. It's a weird phenomenon. I can't even say that word. It's a weird thing. What do you think about it, Michael? Because that's your life right now. You got people from all stripes of life, people that you might even troll who seem to like you. What do you think about that when you're the people that you are kind of against, so to speak, are also sometimes your fans?
Yeah. So, I just think that, I try to disarm people as much as I can by saying something that's, something that people don't expect. And, I think that, people can appreciate that. Like even, I don't know if you know this lady named Marie Essler, her name is, but she called me. I was at a rally in Lynn the other day on Flag Day, and she turned her phone towards me and said, he's one of the biggest pieces of shit on earth. And then at the last rally, she said, I'm funny as well. So it is weird that people seem to have a love-hate relationship with me.
Awesome. It's funny to kind of see some of the comments tonight. It's just very interesting to see the back and forth. I mean, they were even going after my parents that they've never met.
That's all they have, That's
Yeah.
like, when people don't have anything intelligent to say, they resort to personal insults about you or your family or what have you.
Awesome. Good. I love when they do that. I actually it's funny, like doing this long enough, like people think that I get angry, especially like on the social media when I like get really, but I love it. Like I enjoy when people come after, I think it's especially the right wingers. They're always hilarious. It's like, it's the best, especially when they make a good video you can play on the show later.
Right. They
It's
feel
like,
me.
it's like, please keep, no, oh no, you just hurt me so bad. You made a video I can play on my show.
Biggest math hole in Massachusetts.
Like that. I mean, you need that every once in a while, right? We need some of that.
And go, oh, that's terrible. Maybe somebody else will take care of it. Oh, that's not so nice. Well, I don't think it's nice when they're telling your 5-year-old that he can go and suck another 5-year-old's dick.
Oh man, it's just
She's
I could go all
running
day.
for Secretary of State. Wow.
Yeah, this is our Secretary of State. I hit up a couple local Republicans running for office. Not and some of the the mass GOP people. Surprisingly, I also did not hear back, except for one, Anthony Amore. I like Anthony. Anthony directed me, and he said, I'm not mentioning any, because I was asking him specifically about Rayla's campaign. He's like, I'm not going to mention anyone by name, but he sent me a link to his editorial, and he's basically a good guy. He's running as a mass GOP candidate for auditor. And he's not running on hate. He doesn't call his opponents evil. That was like the editorial in Commonwealth Magazine. And that's what Mass GOP should be doing. Like, we definitely need a second party. I would love to sometimes support some Republicans. Like, I'm pretty, people think I'm pretty far left, but sometimes, a Republican could be the better choice if they were sane, at least. I mean, it's just, you don't see it anymore. There's few Anthony Amores. It's more, this crazy stuff that's going on. And sometimes even like, I may not even support a Republican winning, but sometimes they have the better idea, on that one issue that will change something for the better. And I think we need two parties in Massachusetts. This one party rule where Democrats run everything is not working, because they're just acting like oligarchs in a weird way. They're just acting like, they don't have to answer to anyone. They run the whole party. They run the whole show. Who do they have to? There's no one to compete against. It's just one party in Massachusetts. So what do you guys think about that? Like, in terms of the Mass GOP, are they just a joke? It's never going to work out for them. Is there any hope for an Anthony Amore type wing of the Mass GOP? Is Rayla an outlier? What are your comments kind of on the whole thing with the Mass GOP? Start with Andrew.
Well, the Mass GOP, at least for this election cycle, has gone like full Trump. And I assume, well, maybe I shouldn't assume, but my thoughts would be they're probably going to kind of go back to their baseline at some point once they realize that this is not going to win them any elections. But I guess, we'll see.
If Jeff Deal loses big time, if Rayla loses big time,
when he loses big time,
yeah.
he's not going
to. These people lose big time. Like, let's say it's even worse of a trounce than 2-1. Like, usually, you put a Republican against a Democrat in Massachusetts, is usually 65-35. Like, that's the average. You get 1 out of 3 who will, well, 1 out of 4 or whatever it is. It's either 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 that will vote for the opponent to the Democrat, but that's about it. What if he gets like crushed 80-20, 90-10? Like, do you think it will make any difference? Do you think they'll revert back to the kind of the Charlie Baker, more moderate, or not?
Who knows? I'm not Nostradamus, I would, but they're not going to win any major offices this election. It's going to be like a blowout. So they're going to have to regroup and come to some sort of decision about the future of their party.
Excellent. And got some more comments here. Make people gay again. I don't think we need to make anyone anything again. Just let people be. If you're gay, you can be gay. You should be happy, proud, supported to be gay. If you're straight, we're not trying to make any, to me, it's not about making people. It's you know what? If it's about making people feel comfortable, that's what it's about. To make people feel comfortable with who they are. That's what even sex ed is about. It's just like, we want to know. We want some education, some information. That's how I get comfort. As I want to read a book if I don't know something. Maybe I look on YouTube. I'm sorry I'm going off on someone. I'm sorry I'm going off on someone on my side, but I just don't like the whole make thing.
Just so you know, that's in reference to my latest video. One of her name is Annalisa Gentile.
Oh, so again, these are one of your fans.
Yes.
You have a video called "Make People Gay Again."
Let's make everybody gay.
Okay.
Because there is this.
So I fell for the parody. Of course I did. I'm a straight guy.
Did.
Go ahead, Michael.
So there's this lady, interestingly enough, her name is Annalisa Gentile, and she's actually a Republican running for state senate in the Swampscott area. And, she's another, bigot who thinks there's an agenda to make everybody gay. And one time, she shouted on her live stream, "Let's make everybody gay." And so I just ran with it and started saying that Annalisa and I are trying to make everybody gay.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. So again, of course that's their language yeah. So Michael, what's coming up for you? Because you're working on, you said, some videos, and I want to ask you about the Essex County DA race because, Jonathan Blodgett was the one that prosecuted your friend Shimmy.
Mm-hmm.
I know you were a big supporter of Shimmy. I just saw a sign today that a former police officer who was a state rep, who seems probably he would be better, even though he's a former police officer. I think he'd probably be a better choice for district attorney. I saw a sign for him. Apparently he is running. I don't know if maybe that means Blodgett's not running for re-election or it's going to be a contested race. I'm wondering if if it's a contested race and the Essex County DA is running again, Jonathan Blodgett, are you going to consider doing any trolling of him at campaign events?
Absolutely. But I've heard that Jonathan Blodgett is not running, seeking re-election.
That would explain why Paul Tucker's running. What do you have any idea why Blodgett's not running?
He didn't say why, but it just said in a news article probably 2 to 3 months ago that he's not seeking re-election.
Interesting. I wonder if I have a feeling I think he was afraid of this movement that was going to, come after him, including yourself. So that's very interesting. All of a sudden he retires right after this controversial whole thing caught up with him.
And I'd like to point out that, not many people know, but, prosecutors in the prosecutorial decision making, they get absolute immunity. And I don't think no matter who runs for, prosecutor, nothing's going to change unless we can hold them accountable.
Yeah. And people are posting Shimmy is free. We appreciate those comments. Shimmy is free, and it seems like maybe he could have got the last laugh on this. I don't know. I would like to know. I hope a reporter finds out why Blodgett isn't running for re-election.
And he's prospering too.
Yeah,
Shimmy is. So that's a good thing.
That is very good. Again, we still have the comments coming up. Michael Picard, the legend. They chase you around. They call you a legend. Does that happen in real life to you now, Michael, or is that just on the internet?
It happens in Boston more than anywhere. But funny thing is, I was in Washington D.C. for the Stop the Steal event back in November 2020, And I was getting, one of the cops recognized me from my videos. He said he had just watched a video the night before of mine, and quite a few, like I think I saw like 4 or 5 people there that recognized me. So it certainly is becoming more frequent. But even more so around Boston, like people will just, come up to me and say, I really love your videos, and it feels good.
Be nice. Say you're sorry.
Yep.
That's what I love about you. You mentioned that earlier. You have a way of like, kind of approaching people and disarming them a little bit. And even like when they're being nasty, it's like, you're so funny. Like, be nice. Say you're sorry. Be nice.
And
Oh,
people, let me just say, people do not know like what to do when I start making like jokes about, I want to sexual jokes around them, because like, that they everything, they've been taught gay bad, gay this, and when I say, for instance, when I go there's this guy named Mark who's, as far as I know, is currently facing federal charges. He's part of the Super Happy Fun America group.
that's
Um,
Sahadi, Mark Sahadi.
yeah, Mark Sahadi. And when I go up to him and just, every time I see him, I go up to him and give him a pickup line.
Yeah,
Like
that's right.
I'll be like, if coronavirus doesn't take you out, can I? And they just don't know what to do with that.
He runs away. It's so funny.
Mhm.
Yeah, you've got some comments about the pig costume at the Back to Blue rally. That was like so like cringeworthy
That's
and
everyone's
funny
favorite.
and hilarious. It went viral. Like, but I was also afraid for you. Like I always like, I think there's an unspoken word, especially in Massachusetts, and I think probably everywhere in America right now. The police kind of run things politically and locally, and they have a lot of
Mhm.
power. And sometimes that's what you see, and sometimes it's what you don't see. Let's put it that way. And when you did that, that's really like challenging that power in a strange way that, like, again, they can't deal with. So how are they going to deal with that? I feel like. Have you had any threats or any kind of like, have you been scared that the police might come after you for kind of, wearing a pig costume at a Back to Blue rally?
What's funny? It's the cops that are usually laughing, and their supporters that are usually giving me the most hate. That's just how I've observed it. It's so if anything, it's more their supporters that I would worry. They're going to do something.
That's funny.
Um,
That's funny.
and yeah, but I've been worried, especially like when I did the rally in Wilmington, Massachusetts. That was the rally where I prayed to Allah and used the flag as a prayer carpet.
Is that the one that you and Rod Webber got attacked at, basically?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That one was pretty scary.
Because I was like on my knees on the flag, just praying, just
It was
bowing.
pretty funny. That was on the stage. They went
Yeah.
crazy on that one. Oh my
Yeah.
god. It's so
And
hilarious.
they were like surrounding me. So if I was like, I was nervous that, one of them was going to throw a punch.
It's funny because like that's the other thing. I always worry about you, that they're gonna stab you or really seriously hurt you. I mean, does your family ever say anything to you like, hey, maybe you shouldn't go to this one? Or like, I know my girlfriend would be all over my ass, like, you're gonna get hurt and they're gonna come here next. Like, do you hear that from your family at all?
My family pretty much thinks I'm Satan.
Really?
Yeah.
All of them? They don't like you?
Not all of them. Just like, the fundamentalists. I have a few family members, who are like, avid Trump supporters. And, one time, my aunt was, calling me Satan. She was like, I walked in and she said to me, tell me right now that Allah isn't God. And I'm like, Allah is God. And she lost it. She called me Satan and told me to get out.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Rayla Campbell, during her speech at the Mass GOP convention, she said that her family disowned her for being conservative. So I guess
You have something in common.
yeah, you got something in common with her.
Yep.
Here's another one. You got a suggestion from a fan. I bet they give you a lot of suggestions. He said, next time, pass out the free bacon. What do you think? Would you pass out bacon at the next Back the Blue rally? Is that an idea or not, Michael?
Um,
Not enough, or you would consider it?
I would consider it. Yeah.
Couple more. We've had quite. I'm trying to keep up with the comments. It's really hard to keep up with all these comments and read them and make sure I'm not like posting the jerks too much. There's a lot of them. This one writes, Steven just wears cinematic, over the top, stereotypical outfits and yells over the top. Oh, they're talking about Steve Schaefer. Is that it? I don't want to talk about Steve Schaefer. Get that one out of here, right? I mean, come on. Why are they bringing up that guy? Here's a jerk. Dr. Wolfstar. That's shame, dude. Sorry to hear that. Could be worse. You could have had Mag's stepdad. See, he's still talking about, we're like way back, and this guy's still talking about my wiener and my stepdad at age 7. Like, there's something seriously wrong with some of these people, right? I mean, who's still talking about that? Like, this is the only guy. He's obsessed.
He's gonna be awake all night thinking about your stepdad.
I think that's it. I think we found the groomer here. Dr. Wolfstar is trying to groom me back to when I was 7 years old. He's getting off on it. You're getting off on it, Dr. Wolfstar. It's pretty clear, isn't it? Rita writes, Michael is my cousin boyfriend. Steve needs. Oh, she brought up Steve. We don't talk about Steve here. Do you consider Rita your cousin boyfriend, Steve, Michael?
We have a joke because we just say everyone is from at the Trump rallies is inbred. So at the Boston Commons rally back in November, I started saying our ancestors built this country.
I'm laughing at all the jokes going around too. All the comments coming in. Is another good one. Dude is in prison with a cell phone talking about stepdads, and the guy is still talking about my stepdad. He's no, there's something wrong with your stepdad. He writes there, THEIR, of course. No, my stepdad's fine. He likes grown women. You know, he's not. Yeah. There's something really wrong with these people. Take that back, one of your fans writes.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of good comments. I'm laughing at all the comments. The comments are probably even more entertaining than we are at this point. I mean, we've provided a lot of entertainment and education tonight, gentlemen. I'm pretty proud of this show and our guest tonight. I want to thank Michael Picard, known as the professional douche. And I want to thank Andrew Q. Check out his website. Was it Dump? The Dump? No, the Mass Dump.
The Mass Dump. It's andrewqmr.substack.com.
QMR. Did I get that right?
Yeah, QMR.
There we go. Some guy, also, just because someone holds a different opinion than you doesn't mean they're hating. I don't know, man. When you make it all about LGBT or Q or trans or the other, that's hating, When you're picking on the minority, that's hating. When the majority picks on the minority, that is hating. That is the definition of hating.
Oh, I ruined the show, apparently, from the guy who can't stop talking about your stepdad.
I don't even know how that came up. I ruined the show. I brought it up. I volunteered that. I just think, that's normal. This is what professional douche. You are badass. Love your videos. You got a lot of fans here, Michael. They were going crazy.
Thank you so much, and I love all the support.
Speak up, Mike. Now's your chance. What do you have to say? Are they talking to me or you? They must be talking to
I don't know. Lisa Johnson is a friend of Diana Ploss. She's always on Diana Ploss's show.
So what does she want you to speak up about?
I don't know. Lisa, what do you want me to speak up about?
Yeah, be clear, Lisa. I'd ask Lisa why all our friends are cowards and won't come on the show. Michael should bring a hand-down picture of Allah next time he does an Allah Loves You protest. A hand-drawn picture of Allah. See, they're making more suggestions for you. You get a lot of suggestions from people on what you should do next, don't you?
Yeah, I do, and I wish I could read all of the comments, but I get so many comments that sometimes it's really hard to sift through them all.
Rita writes that Lisa is actually Diana Plus's campaign manager. Everyone say hi. Hi, hate monger campaign manager. Diana Plus is also running for something. What is she running for? Dog catcher? Does anyone know?
Diana Plus?
Yeah, she's running for governor, I think, actually. I don't
She's
even know.
running for governor.
Yeah, she's running for governor. It's such a joke. We don't even know. Lisa is mad that she tried to convince Mike to troll me, and we made fun of her. That's what Rita likes.
Oh yeah, I sent her. I sent her screenshots of what Lisa was messaging me, and then we just trolled her. It was funny.
Oh, look at this. What are you even going on about? Minority, majority. I'm the minority in your chat group. Oh, yeah, but you know what? You can leave the chat room, and it won't affect your life at all. You're not going to lose employment. You're not going to lose any food. You're not going to lose any sleep. Just leave, and you're the majority, like you always are, white guy. These guys are such I'm a white guy, never been held down in my life, not once. In fact, I think we get a lot of opportunity, and it doesn't mean I don't work hard, and it doesn't mean I'm not working class, which I totally am. It doesn't mean I haven't had some of the most brutal, tough times. Yes, I have, but we are not held down for being white guys, not at all.
Lisa responds.
What is it?
Lisa responded.
Oh, she did. We're going to put that up there. There we go. Where's the receipts for your claim of trolling Black Lives Matter, Mike? Speak up. Oh.
You know what? Back in...
So let's just explain that, because Michael Picard, for our audience that doesn't know, is really, what do you call yourself, an anarchist, capitalist, or something? What is it?
Anarcho-capitalist.
Yeah, which is totally further right than a libertarian, basically, in a way. Yes?
Yeah, I believe free market should take the role of government.
So it's safe to say you're not a left-wing liberal.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So she's asking you because she feels like you're closer to her than probably us, myself or maybe Andrew. Lisa Johnson, right? Where's the receipts for your claims of trolling Black Lives Matter? Mike, speak up. She's making a charge against you. What's your response on it?
My response is that I've trolled the left equally. I trolled Antifa when they were in Boston. I've trolled. I've even trolled women's marches. I've trolled gun control rallies.
I've seen those videos, and I hate you for them, Michael.
Everybody hates me when it's their side getting trolled.
That's right. And I love you, Mike. I think you're the best. I really do. I like you a lot.
I appreciate that.
But when I watch those videos, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't turn on you. Yeah, because I have, you do the God's work. She's really just upset because you go after Diana Plus. I mean, that's really the bottom line. Lisa Johnson is running for mayor of Springfield. I guess she's running for a mayor. Her campaign manager is Lisa Simpson. Interesting. They're all running for office. Oh, man. Here's Rita. Rita has a question. Lisa, if you guys stop giving him so many opportunities, he might have time for something else.
Shh, don't give my secret away.
Yeah, right? Here's one. Hey, Rita, you're an old news kid. They're going after Lisa Johnson is now going after Rita. They're having arguments in our comment section. This is interesting. What do you think about Andrew? All this this fascinating stuff going on in our chat room, Andrew.
I haven't been paying that close attention to it, to be honest.
We have Diana Plus's people in here. It's funny. I think it's funny. So yeah, we're the Young Jerks. I want to thank you both for coming on tonight. Andrew, where do you want to leave us with all of this about Rayla Campbell? What can people do? Do you have anything else you want to add tonight?
About Rayla, I mean, there's lots of things you could say about her, but just that, she's part of this movement of people who are attacking our teachers and our librarians, and it's pretty gross. I mean, these people who are making knowledge available to us, and she's going after them, saying, that they're basically, sexually abusing children with just totally made up stuff. It's like grotesque for someone to be doing that. And, you know, she's not going to win the election, but people should be aware that, you know, she's not the only person doing this kind of thing. There's, you know, a sizable minority of people who are, you know, going around saying all this stuff. And you should be aware that, you know, there are people like that who are spreading this kind of BS.
Now we're posting comments back and forth between Lisa and Rita. This is getting interesting, folks. Lisa Johnson writes, I don't love you, Rita, and I don't hate you. You are simply irrelevant. Huh.
Fight.
Who the hell is Lisa Johnson to call anyone irrelevant? You're a joke. Give me a break. Rita's friends with us. She's not irrelevant. I like Rita a lot. I think she's good people.
She is good people.
Rayla Campbell believes the world should be like Handmaiden's Tale. That's another comment we got just now. So I want to thank you both for coming on tonight. Michael, anything you want to leave us with as well tonight?
Yeah, you know, I live by the philosophy, live and let live. You know, as long as you're not harming anyone, you know, just leave people the hell alone. You know, let them make their own decisions. Don't try to get daddy government to, you know, to outlaw anything that you don't like. And yeah, that's what I would leave you with tonight.
And you know what? We're not cowards like Diana Ploss and them. You know, when we comment on their videos, they block us. They remove them. They get very upset. We had the trolls in here today. We weren't hiding their comments. We were posting them right out on the screen, responding to them. We're not afraid like the Dianas and the Rayla Campbells. You know, it's funny because I started off tonight talking about the cannabis folks, the executives. And one of the execs got, you know, she got back. She was very upset that I was trolling her boss who had done all these awful things in her tenure at New England Treatment Access. And she said something like, I'm used to pissing off white men. And I just responded, well, I'm used to pissing off corporate sellout executives. And I'm also used to pissing off right-wing assholes. I mean, that's the bottom line here. It's just like, you know, those are the folks who always get upset, and that's my role, is to kind of piss them off, you know. But we'll air it. Like we'll actually have them on if they want to come on. We'll do what other folks won't do, but they won't, because when they do, it's such a joke. It's so embarrassing for them that they run away with their tail between the legs. They never want to talk about it again, and we play it over and over again. So who's winning? And it's just like what Michael Picard's doing, just like what Andrew's doing. We're exposing people, and they don't like it. It does make people uncomfortable, and they don't want to talk about it. And Rayla didn't want to talk to us tonight, and I think that's us winning. I think that's freedom of speech. I think that's what Dr. Wolfstar and his ilk are afraid of, actually. They don't want us to speak. The people he supports, they don't want to allow freedom of speech. They don't have the balls to even come on the show. So what more needs to be said? These, you know, I'm with Andrew and I'm with Michael. These guys are kings. Your people are friggin' jokes. They're absolutely a friggin' joke. We have more comments before I let these guys go. Unfortunately, Massachusetts in general has become the snowflake capital of the country, especially on the right wing, extreme right wing. They are such snowflakes. I'm adding that commentary in. Jeffrey also writes, the squeakiest wheel gets the satisfaction of denying freedom. And now Dr. Wolfstar, the snowflake, is still in here complaining or talking about my dad, apparently. He writes, I'm liberal. I'll come on the show. Give me a number. I'll call in now. We don't have a phone number. It's too late. You can't call in now. You can do your comment. We are getting a phone number, actually. We're getting a phone number back probably in the next month or two. But Dr. Wolfstar also writes, no, Picard is doing real work in the field, and you guys are hiding in an echo chamber. So now he's trying to split us from Michael Picard. What do you think about Michael? What do you think about that? Mike, what do you think about it?
Sorry, I thought you were talking to Andrew.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know why he takes the position, because, you know, that position, because we believe in a lot of the same things. We believe that, you know, people should have the right to choose what they do with their own bodies. You know, they should have the freedom to go to the library and, you know, pick out a book that suits their, you know, their situation. Poor choice of words, but you know what I mean.
Lisa Johnson's still in the comment section. I'm done posting her comments though. She's kind of irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, and just to respond to that, what he said about an echo chamber, I have emailed Rayla probably 20 times. I think I left half a dozen voicemails for her. I commented on Facebook and Twitter. I even attempted to call into her radio show. I have been trying to speak with her. You know, talk about an echo chamber. I want to talk to her about all the information about her that I have shown was not true. She's the one who doesn't want to speak to me, which, you know, so, you know, I'm not in an echo chamber here. I'm just trying to get the facts, and she doesn't even want to speak with me.
We're posting all the comments tonight, all the hate. Oh, you just called me a troll, asked me to leave, and talked about some minority majority bullshit while talking about freedom. It's literally just cracked out tangents. Hey, you know what? We're not afraid to post your comments, even though you sound like a cracked out tangent. I mean, come on, buddy. Some of the stuff these guys have been posting tonight is just ridiculous. I'm Mike Crawford. This has been the Young Jerks. I'm very happy again that we had Michael Picard and Andrew Q on tonight. Definitely support what they're doing. And again, we got a lot more coming up. You guys, again, do you want to shout out where people can find you and look you up? I know most people know where Michael Picard is, but why don't you guys shout it out? I'll start with Michael first.
So yeah, just check out the Professional Douche YouTube channel, youtube.com/professional douche.
And Andrew.
My Substack is andrewqmr.substack.com, and my Twitter is andrewqmr, so you can follow along.
Thank you guys both for coming on tonight. I want to thank our listeners, thank our supporters. Expect a lot more. We're going to have some candidates coming up. I know we're going to have Governor's Council candidate Mara Dolan coming up pretty soon. Also talking to Shalene Title. We're going to have her on. And they may even be on the same show. I'm going to try to work that out. We got some great stuff. I mean, we're back. And I want to, again, thank our audience. I want to thank both of you guys for supporting us. Andrew, you were one of the first ones to make us go viral way back, the Charlie Baker versus Mike Can, the joint versus bear challenge.
Blunts with you?
Yeah, the joint versus bear challenge. He never accepted it, but I mean, that went around the world. My family was.
Oh yeah, you wanted him to drink beer while you were smoking joints.
He drinks beer and he was all anti-weed, and I was like, let's have a challenge. Let's do a joint versus a beer and see who passes out first.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah, he didn't want to do it. We would have been a good charity event. That went viral. That was great. And Michael Picard, again, I want to thank you so much too. Every time we have you on the show, our YouTube goes crazy. So I want to thank your supporters and listeners. And hopefully they hit the subscribe button as well on our YouTube. I love you guys. I thank, both of you for what you do. You guys are awesome individuals and big supporters of what you do. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Hit the subscribe right here.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, we're the Young Jerks. We'll catch you next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.